long time as a young adult. But during that time, I spent a lot of time on the road and a lot of time by myself. And it was a fairly um, taxing job to be alone and doing that, going town to town, and it's physically pretty demanding to play an instrument every night. And so I found yoga and I started doing a yoga practice when I was living in Minneapolis. I started with doing just, well, at the time it was like a VHS. I don't know, you probably remember that. It wasn't actually that long ago, but VHS tapes where I would put it in my VCR and do little short yoga practices before bedtime to help me relax. And it helped my body feel a lot better because I was in the car a lot. I was, again, like I said, playing music, playing guitar, doing things that were, hard on my body, even in my 20s. And so yoga I found really helpful for helping to open up my body, get me to move in different ways, to stretch. I was kind of drawn to a little bit more actually vigorous kind of practice initially. And I did that. It's called Ashtanga, which is just a traditional form of yoga. I found my teacher in Portland, Oregon, where I lived for many years. And that particular practice is very physical and it's very energetic and it builds a lot of strength. And I found that to be really helpful over the years. But after a certain period of time, um, and it really was a turning point for me when I became pregnant with my daughter, that practice wasn't benefiting me in the same way that or in the way that I needed it to. And so things started to shift for me in my own personal practice. And in the meantime, I had started teaching. And so even my teaching style and emphasis changed a lot. And it really shifted to more of a gentler, more restorative, more prenatal based for women who were carrying babies and needed help to prepare for labor and for motherhood. So a lot of my focus really shifted as a teacher because in my own personal practice, it had shifted a lot. I also went through a lot of experiences of loss in my life. I lost my sister, one of my older sisters, to suicide about 15 years ago. And that was a major shift in my life. And I lost my dad recently, about 3 years ago. He suffered from Lewy body dementia. And so he passed away, and that was a really big loss for me. I was very close with my dad. And so those experiences really impacted me and also affected how I approach my practice and how I teach. I try to be as compassionate as I can be with my students. I think that practicing self-compassion is really, really important, no matter what stage of life you're in, whether you're a new mom or you're a caretaker or you're struggling with a illness yourself. I think self-compassion is something that we could all use more of. And then also compassion for one another. But I think it does start with the self, and then we can expand out from there. So that's a big emphasis for me, is cultivating more of that compassion. I don't know if that sort of sums it up, but if you have any specific questions, I can go deeper into any part of that. But I think there are a lot of benefits to yoga overall, from just, getting the body to move a little bit, getting energy to move. It's good for your circulation, increased flexibility. Although that's what people mostly think about, is like yoga is stretching. And I think that's a very limited way to look at what yoga is. There's a lot of other things that are happening. Becoming more aware of your breathing. That's actually quite useful for calming our nervous system and dealing with stress. And I think especially in this last year, with COVID and with everyone being so isolated from one another, we need as much, relaxation techniques as we can get. So breathing, slowing down our breath, lengthening our breath, that's just a very, one of the things that we can do, but I think it's really important. So I think I'll pause because I don't know if I'm saying too much or going too far.
No, I think this is really helpful, Brenda. Just even talking
Okay.
about breathing. That's something
Yeah.
we all do. And I think we can all do it better. And just like you said, creating an awareness of how we're breathing. Are there ways that you believe that people can just become more aware of their breathing? Because sometimes we don't even know we're holding our breath. At least
Right.
for myself.
Yeah, that's very common. And I have the same struggles, just because I've been doing this for so many years doesn't mean that I don't struggle and have to keep working with these things too, because I have stress in my life. And as things become more stressful, sometimes those techniques or awareness, it just all goes out the window, right? Because you're just trying to survive and go moment to moment sometimes. Um, and so it's not something to think about like we've got to perfect it or we've got to be masters at it. It's really a day-to-day practice, something to just slowly work on. So it could be simple as, if you're having a stressful moment, taking your hand, putting it on your low belly, and just try to feel your breath in your belly. Because most people breathe way up here, right? They have short, shallow breaths, and it's all in the chest, which rises up into the throat and the neck, and it can cause a lot of pain and discomfort in the upper body. So we want to, in general, try to bring the awareness lower into the body, feeling more of like low rib cage and belly. So we want to expand the belly out on the in breath, and you feel the belly move back in on the out breath. So for a lot of people who have never done breath work, that can feel really counterintuitive because people think that the inhale should be moving in and the exhale should be big and out, and it's actually the opposite. So just placing one or even both hands on your belly throughout the day, you might start with just once a day before bed, even when you're lying in bed, if you have trouble falling asleep. If you're more of a worrier, like spend that time, just put your hands on your belly and just try to feel your breath there. Like that's a very simple thing to just start with.
Can we practice? Yeah, I don't want to interfere
Oh
with
yeah.
with the program or your timeline
Nope.
at all, Brenda, but shall we all practice? Take a few minutes to practice?
Yeah. And I can do if you want me to lead you through actual like movements, like a more formal practice, that will all be a part of it too.
Oh, good. Okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
That's what you had planned. Yeah.
Okay, we can just get into it. So I'm not really, I'm not familiar with any of you except for Brad and Sharon. And I've seen them in person a lot, so I know their bodies, fairly well. And I don't know you guys yet. And it's really hard in this format for me as a teacher to, all I see is your head. So I can't see your body. I don't know what your limitations are, or if you've had injuries or surgeries. So I really want to emphasize that, like, yourself best, right? You know your body like I will never know your body. So anything that I'm going to lead you through today, I want you to just keep trying to tune into like, yeah, that's not going to work for me, or that doesn't feel good what she's telling me to do. So you're just so you don't do it, right? I just want to make sure everybody feels like comfortable and safe in their own space and in their bodies. So I was thinking about leading you through some stuff actually seated in a chair. And it looks like most of you are seated already. So if you have like I have a chair behind me, I can show you, it's more of like a folding chair. So if you have a chair that's more like that's pretty sturdy, that's not going to like slide around on you, and you want to position that now, you can. But some of you I know are sitting in a couch. So if that is just what you have to work with, that's okay too. Okay. So I'm going to start. I'm actually seated on the floor, but you can be in your chair, or if you are comfortable on the floor, if that's, like Sharon and Brad do this with me a lot. So, they might want to be on the floor. It's just kind of up to you guys. But let's actually begin. If you don't mind, I was going to start with just some breath awareness, and then actually going into like a very short meditation that is based on compassion. Does that sound okay if we do that? So I'm also a big believer in using like repetitive phrases or words as a way to help calm the brain. And so we can use phrases that we just repeat to ourselves. And For some people, it's helpful to actually say it out loud, but for a lot of people, it's just saying it quietly to yourself. And that's a way for your brain to learn a new pattern that's more based on compassion and emphasizing compassion and positive thoughts. So we're going to just do a little bit of that before we go into some movement. Does that sound okay? Okay. Okay. So find your seat. Again, wherever you're sitting is fine, but just if you can, if you're comfortable, close your eyes. If that doesn't feel good for you, that's okay. Maybe just let your eye gaze fall down towards your lap, or like thinking about tip of the nose, just something to sort of relax your eye gaze a little bit. And maybe take the first couple of moments to just check in with yourself. So I want you to just notice how you're feeling in your body today. So that might be some aches and pains. It might be something really bothering you. It might be your shoulder, your low back. Could be anything. You know, I just want you to take a moment to recognize that that's there. I also want you to take a moment to recognize anything in the body that feels good. So maybe yesterday your knee was hurting, but today it feels a little better. Or maybe we're feeling less irritated than we were earlier in the day. So just sort of, again, recognizing the good stuff that is there too. And just keeping the eyes closed or the eye gaze soft, I want you to just start to feel your breath. So most of the time we're not conscious of our breath. It's an involuntary action that we're taking day in, day out. Every moment of the day we're breathing and we're not usually aware of it. But that's part of the practice, is to actually become aware of it, to feel it happening, to notice where in your body you're feeling it, and to try and redirect it down into your belly. So start to feel the belly expanding on your inhale. Again, you might place one or both hands there. Feel the belly pressing into the palms of your hands. And then as you're exhaling, feel the belly draw back in towards your spine. And I want you to just do that for a few rounds of breath, just staying with that. And it might feel really challenging. You might feel like your belly's not moving very much, and that's okay. For others, you might feel like you can expand it quite a bit. So notice where you are, like if you've already sort of become distracted by other thoughts, if you've already moved away from that breath awareness, just something to notice and gently bring yourself back to it. So hands at your belly, feel a couple more deep breaths, expanding out on the inhale, and exhaling, it draws back in. So if this is feeling good for you, you can certainly continue with that and keeping your hands there if that's a good guide for you. If it's feeling like you want to let it go or it's causing some anxiety, then just let your hands rest again in your lap or wherever is comfortable. But if you can, I want you to keep your eyes closed or your eye gaze just kind of soft. So we're not looking all over the room. We're trying to just stay a little more inward. And I want you to just start to repeat these phrases to yourself. And we're going to direct the phrases, the message to ourselves. And so the first phrase is simply, May I be safe. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. And may I be filled with loving kindness. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. And may I be filled with loving kindness. So I'm just going to repeat it one more time. And you can continue to do it just to yourself as well. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. And may I be filled with loving kindness. So I want you to take just a couple more slower, deeper breaths. If you can, still a little bit more down into the belly. And just kind of let those phrases, those words stay with you, giving yourself that love and compassion. So when that feels like a good time to release, if that feels complete for you, you can just start to open up your eyes if they have been closed. And so I'm gonna just shift here a little bit. I'm gonna actually shift my camera because I'm gonna move back to my chair. Hopefully you'll be able to see me still okay. So as you stay in your seat, and you can always feel free to move around, but I just wanna make sure you feel pretty stable. So I'm just coming into a simple seated position. I'm not laying all the way back into the back. I'm actually coming forward just a bit on the chair. So I'm kind of allowing my belly muscles to work a little bit to hold me up. So I'm not rounding, right, and leaning back. I'm going to try and come up a little bit. So I want you to just try to feel into that as you come up and feel like the top of your head is lifting up towards the sky, like a little puppet. If you think of a string at the top of your head and you're just being drawn up. So we're just trying to lengthen the spine. We're lengthening the side body just by doing that. We'll be able to get a deeper, fuller breath when we improve our posture. Because when we start to sink and round, we kind of crunch the diaphragm and the lungs and we can't take big breaths. So just simply coming into seated, think about lifting up through the top of the head. So just see how that feels. Notice if your head is tipping forward a lot, see if you can draw it back. So almost feeling like your chin is kind of drawing back a bit. And just feel that for a couple of breaths. If you can, hands at your belly, one or both, feel into that belly breath that we just worked. Okay, so we just keep coming back to this breath. And the hand is a really good guide because sometimes we can't quite feel it. But once we place the hand there, we actually can feel that expanding out and drawing in. So just keep checking in with that. So I'm just going to take hands to the knees now. They're just going to wrap around the fronts of my knees. And I'm going to inhale and just lift the head, lift the chin. And then exhale, I'm going to let my chin drop towards my chest, dropping the head down. And then lifting the head again. As you lift, just feel the front of the neck opening and stretching. And then exhale, chin down towards your chest. So do that a couple more times. Lifting, and it's a real slow movement. You don't have to feel like you're rushing. We don't want to go so fast that we feel dizzy. So if that's a kind of a common feeling for you, is to feel a little lightheaded, then really go slowly with the head movements. And so if we can see how that feels to lift the head and then actually lift the heart space. So the chest, you're lifting the chest a little bit, almost feeling like you're kind of arching your back. And then as you let your head drop again, chin comes to your chest. I want you to round your back a little bit. And we're going to go between those two, lifting, lifting and opening the chest, lifting the head, and then let the head drop and round into your back. So we're just working on some spinal movements here, flexing the spine, and then moving into, it's called an extension. So it's really good for the spine to be moved every day into those positions. So see if you can just work with that. Rounding and then arching a bit. And then coming back up, let's just find a more like neutral position. So we're not arching or rounding anymore. We're just sitting up tall. And let's take that right arm and just reach up for the sky. Take a big inhale as you do that, and then exhale, release it down. You can just bring it to your knee. And then that left arm reaches up, inhale, and exhale back down. And do that the other side. Right arm reaches, can go slow here. Try to feel the whole breath as you do it. Come back down, inhale, the left arm reaches up, and exhale. So let's see both arms, if we can, up over the head. And then hold it as you reach up through your fingertips. Feel like you're reaching like way beyond your fingertips, like a mile up into the sky, we're reaching. And just notice how that feels in the sides of your body. And then let's exhale and bring the arms down to your sides. Then inhale, circle them back up. And exhale to your sides. So try to coordinate it with your breath. So if you're not thinking about your breath, you're just moving your arms. Try to inhale up, big breath in, and then exhale it down. One more time, inhale and expand your belly as you do it. Good, exhale to your sides. So let's bring hands again to the legs. And now let's turn your head to the right. So like you're gonna look over your right shoulder. And then come back to center, looking straight ahead. And then moving over to the left. So feeling that stretch through the side of the neck, going back to center, and I want you to go side to side a couple of times. Again, not so fast that you feel dizzy. So if you need to hold the stretch, if that feels better, you can do that. But just try to keep breathing as you do it. So the belly is still moving in and out. We're not holding our breath. Just getting a little bit of blood flow and energy flow around the head and neck. And then coming back to center when you're ready. Sit up nice and tall again. Feel that string kind of drawing you up. And then if you are comfortable, taking your legs a little wider apart. So feet go wider, knees go a little bit wider. Depending on your body and what's comfortable, you can adjust it. So we're going to try to come into a little bit of a side bend here. So hand could be on your left knee or thigh, or some of you might bring your forearm all the way there. And we're going to try to extend the other arm. So we're just coming into a side bend. And then if you can come back up, we're going to switch sides, going over to the left. Okay, so if you are not doing the wider leg stance, that's fine if legs are together. And see if you can just work here. You can even use your chair as a support for the hand. So you can grab onto something. We don't want to feel like we're going to tip over. But try to think about the sides of your body here. So rib cage is opening up. You're stretching your intercostal muscles, those muscles in the rib cage. And when we stretch those muscles, that helps us to breathe better. We can breathe a lot more deeply and fully. When those muscles are really tight and contracted, it's hard to get a deep breath. So side bending is really important. So as you come into the next side bend, see if you can hold it for a few breaths. So we don't want to be feeling pain. If that's happening, come out of the pose. If you have shoulder issues, you can bring your hand to your hip. You don't have to keep that arm lifted. Okay, so make it work for you. We're not trying to create suffering in this practice. And then come up and just switch sides and try to hold on that side for a few breaths. So when you come into it, notice, like, are you breathing? Is your breath super shallow? Are you breathing through your mouth most of the time? See if you can deepen the breath, feel it in your belly, and breathe more through your nose. Good. Come back up to center. And then we can draw the legs back together. And maybe just take arms to your sides and actually just see how it feels to sort of shake them out a little bit. Doesn't have to be anything really rough, just super gentle, just kind of relaxing them. Yeah, maybe shaking your shoulders a little bit. You could roll the shoulders one and then the other. And maybe trying both shoulders rolling up towards your ears and then down and back. Just kind of notice if this is difficult for you, if there's a lot of tension in the muscles. Just do the best you can and feel into your body. Sometimes it helps to close the eyes even to do that. Good. So hands again on tops of your thighs. Feel into the crown of the head. So if you've started to round and sort of sink down into your seat or chair, bring yourself back up. So feel tall again. And then extending your right leg, see if you can bring your heel to the floor and just feel into the stretch through the back of your right leg. So I'm a little bit more kind of towards the front edge of my chair, but my chair is pretty sturdy. So I don't want you to go so far that you actually tip forward. So just be conscious of where you're at, but just stretching that leg out in front and maybe even starting to fold forward a little bit from there. And just breathe here as you're holding it. And then start to lift yourself back up and then switch sides. If you can, extend your left leg. For some of you, this might be all you do. Just try to straighten that leg out. Feel some energy in the bottom of your foot. Maybe think about spreading open your toes. Like look down at your foot. Although some of you might have shoes on. I'm barefoot, so I can totally see my foot and I can see my toes. But if you're in socks even, you can try to spread your toes. And then maybe you're going to lean forward just a little bit, if that's comfortable for you, and kind of feel into the back of that leg. And then gently bring yourself up. So we're going to bend the knees again. And then take a nice big breath. Inhale up through the crown. And then I actually want you to try to fold forward over the legs. So if you are in a chair like me, you can come forward and let yourself fall towards the legs. If you're in front of a table, you could even cross your arms at the table and let your hands or let your head rest there. Just kind of see what you're able to do. And it might be that your hands are resting and it's just a little bit of a forward fold. So try to make it work for your body and for the space that you're in and what you have available. Any sort of forward fold like this, whether you're seated or if you're lying in bed and you want to just fold out over your legs, anything that is like that movement forward where you drop your head is really calming for the nervous system. So we operate a lot in a pretty stressful mode where we're kind of always in this really highly activated state. And so doing these types of poses and movements and breath work actually helps to train the nervous system to move into that real calm, like rest and digest mode, which is what we want to be in more often. So just doing a simple forward fold in the middle of your day can be helpful. So bring yourself, again, just very slowly back up into seated. And then take a deep breath there. Maybe feel into your belly, one or both hands. You'll probably notice right away if you have fallen back into a shallower breath, if you're breathing up into the chest again. So let your movement of the belly kind of press into the hand on the inhale as it expands, and then let it drop in and sort of draw in towards the spine as you exhale. And just feel that for a couple of rounds. So we call this a practice because it's what it is. We just have to practice over and over and over again. It won't be automatic. It won't just happen overnight. It has to be something that we really relearn and teach the body and teach the nervous system. Good. So let your hand release again to your knees. I'd like us to take just a twist here. So I want you to take your right hand and reach it towards your left thigh or knee. So you're kind of crossing over to the other leg. And then let your left hand either reach behind you. It might be grabbing the arm of the chair, or if you're on a couch, maybe it's the arm of the couch. Just something to help kind of hold on to and support you. We're going to twist to the left. And so you're just you're feeling it in your belly. You're twisting there. And then it's moving up the spine, and you're going to open up your chest to the left side. So you're just twisting, and then maybe your head is following just a little bit. Try not to be forceful. Wherever you're able to go into it is good. And then you're holding the pose, but you're not holding your breath. So we're still breathing like we've been working on. So a really good pose, twisting in general, is great for the spine to have that rotation. It's also really good for our internal organs and for digestion to be twisting every day. So when you feel ready to release that, just turn back to the front and then see if you can go the other side. So you're just crossing over and then grabbing your chair or whatever you have for support. And we're not slouching and rounding. We want to stay still nice and lifted, like we've been working up through the top of the head, like a little puppet string pulling you up, but you're just adding that rotation. Take another big breath into your belly. And then slowly release and turn back to the front. Good. So I want us to actually try, if you guys are game, I'm actually going to have you stand up. But before you do that, I want you to think about when you stand up, feel down into your feet. So we don't think about our feet very much, and we don't give them a lot of love and attention, which they actually deserve because they're what helps us every day move in the world. So you're going to press down into your feet, and I want some attention right in the center of the chest. So imagine now the string is right in the center of your chest, pulling you up. So just when you feel ready, maybe thinking about an inhale bringing you up, lifting up into standing. Now, if you're comfortable coming back to sit, you can do this a couple times. Coming back, and then think about a big inhale to bring you up. But it's much lighter when we think about like the chest is bringing you up, like your heart space, your heart is lifting you up to stand up in the world. So this is something that I do on my own, and I don't have a lot of trouble standing up out of a chair, but it can change a lot how you do it and how it feels rather than like trying to muscle your way up into it. So think about lifting up from the heart. So it's a simple little practice, but you could do it, you know, multiple times during the day rather than just getting up once from your dining room chair or from your reading chair. Like, think about doing it a few times with a little bit different intention. So maybe one more time, inhale up, and then hold in that standing pose. So I want you to feel now down into your feet. So bring awareness into your feet. We've been talking about a lot of awareness in the belly. Feel down now and become aware of your feet. And then feel, this is called mountain pose, just standing, because we can feel like strong and stable, but also we're really like majestic and amazing. We're lifted and tall. So see if you can feel that. And if you don't have any dizziness, you know, if you want to try it with closing your eyes, it can be really powerful just to stand and breathe in this pose. We can feel lifted up through the top of the head and then grounded down through the feet, like a great big mountain. And then if you want to add on to this, and I would say to have the eyes open for this, we can inhale and try to bring the arms actually up over your head. So we're going to reach up for the sky, and then exhale, let your arms float back down. And do this a couple times, just at your own pace. So we don't need to rush. And if you're standing by your partner there, you might need to space out a bit so we're not hitting each other. But inhale, big movement up. Feel that reach up through your hands, and then exhale back down. And taking it again, inhale, if you can come up over your head, reach up through the hands, and then see if you can add a little side bend. So bring your right arm down, and then lean just a little bit over to the right. And then come back up and switch sides. Again, do this as slow as you need to. If you need to be holding on to something, then that's fine as well. And maybe do the other side, going back to the right. And then again to the left. Good, coming back up tall, bring hands and arms to your sides. Again, I want you to just gently shake out your arms. Let your shoulders move a little bit. See if you can start to shake out your legs. Maybe you do a little bouncing. And then maybe even a little bit of like twisting, just kind of moving side to side. Again, a super simple movement that we can do every day. Morning, afternoon, and evening, just like shake out the tension. Kind of feels like being a little kid again, where you've got the little, you just need to get it out. Good. So you can do a little more if it feels good, or just kind of let it settle and find stillness again. Take a big breath, let it out. And then let's come back down into seated, whether you're on a chair or if you want to come into, if you're comfortable on the floor again and you want to sit there. I'm going to again change my screen here because I'm on the floor again. So I want you to just get comfortable in your seat as we started. And if closing the eyes feels okay, I just want to kind of do a little closing. We did a little bit of movement, some breath work. And I always like to have sort of an ending to that. So it's not like an abrupt shift back into like our normal routine or normal way. And typically in a class that I would teach, we would end up in a lying down position. So we'd be lying on the floor. And it can get a little ridiculous sometimes because like we are covered with blankets, we have eye pillows, like we're cuddled into like this little cocoon. We get very comfortable and warm, and we literally are just resting the body. So we have like I call it nap time sometimes, but we're not falling asleep necessarily. Sometimes people do, but I'm not going to make you get onto your backs for today. But if you can sort of try to sort of replicate that in a seated position as best we can, just sort of again closing your eyes and just sort of scanning your body, which really just means like coming from the top of your head, trying to feel the top of your head. And again, it could be helpful to have that touch of the hand. Sometimes we just can't quite access different parts of the body, so it'd be helpful to touch it. And feel the top of your head just relaxing under the hand. Kind of feeling like the skin on the scalp is just sort of like melting away. And then you let that awareness and that relaxation just move down the head very slowly across the forehead and down the bridge of the nose and over the eyes, relaxing your cheeks, your mouth, your jaw. And so just continue to scan down the body very slowly through the neck and the shoulders. We're not holding the breath as we do this. We're still breathing slow and deep. Continue to scan down through the chest, through the upper back. Feel your shoulder blades relax a little bit. Move all the way down through the belly, the hips, down through the legs, and all the way through the bottom of the feet and the toes. And so allowing the eyes to either stay closed if that's feeling relaxing to you. I actually wanted to close with a song, and if the closing the eyes doesn't feel good to keep holding, you can certainly open them. But I wanted to share a song here to close with you today. This is actually an old hymn, and it's a song that I sang for my dad, and it's called "In the Sweet By and By." There's a land that is fairer than day, and by faith we can see it afar. For the Father waits over the way to prepare us a dwelling place there. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore. We shall sing on that beautiful shore the melodious songs of the blessed, and our spirits shall sorrow no more. Not a sigh for the blessing of rest in the sweet we shall meet on that beautiful shore in the sweet by and by. We shall meet on that beautiful shore. We shall meet on that beautiful shore. So thank you very much for listening, for participating and just doing your best and being open to all of it. I'm sure that it was new for some of you, maybe not new for some of you, but I hope it was of some benefit and that you feel better, at least today.
Brenda, I'll just say for myself, you know, my mind was on banking transactions before I came here, like 10
Oh,
minutes before I signed in. And it's just totally gone. You just totally are able to let go of whatever it was you entered the space, you know,
yeah, yeah,
by spending, I don't know how long that was, 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe, you know, it just really frees up your mind and you just feel, I feel so different than before I started practicing this. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I don't think it doesn't take much actually to shift the mind at times and to shift our nervous system or to shift just where our heart is, you know. Sometimes it just takes a minute of deep breathing, of feeling your belly move, of just trying to be in your body a little bit, even if it's for just a few minutes a day. Like I just believe that it makes a difference. And I've said this for a long time. I wish that everybody in the world did yoga because it would be a much more peaceful place. And um, I think there are definitely other ways to access it. It doesn't have to be just through yoga. But I think there's a lot of practices within that are just so helpful and that have made a really big impact in my life. So
Anybody have any comments or any? Yes, Kate, go ahead and I can unmute you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Brenda, thank you for sharing your story earlier about your family. I just wanted to tell you that your dad was a teacher of mine, and he was a
oh
great teacher. It was speech class,
yeah.
and he was just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful memory that I have from those days. And your mom and I used to work part-time at a store during college years.
Oh wow.
So if you greet her for me, that would be great.
What is your last name, Kate?
McShane. She would know me by McShane.
McShane. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. That's so sweet. That's really nice
Yeah.
to hear. I
Well,
love
thank you for
hearing
being
and
with us
meeting.
today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'd probably add my thank you as well for Anne. We do exercising, kind of stretching exercising every morning to a record that our daughter had when she was in high school. And that was many years ago. And we continue to be pretty faithful to every morning with that
Yeah, that's
exercise.
great.
And many of them were much of the exercising you just did. So
Yeah.
we're happy to have that affirmation. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, and keep doing it, keep doing it every day, just a little bit even really makes a difference. I think, you got to keep moving the body any way you can. And it's so good for the mind and for the spirit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And I think keeping it simple too. I mean, I tried to keep it really simple on the chair today because I just, like I said, I don't know the group and I wanted it to be like safe, and this format can be a little tricky for me to not be able to see people, but there's all kinds of things. I mean, and Brad and Sharon know this, but we do most things on the floor and on our mat, and we get up and stand, and we do things at the wall, and there's, you know, so much stuff that you can do. I just tried to keep it really simple for today to give you just a little taste, and emphasizing more of like the breath. And so we did more side bends, you know, things that were really much more related to being able to have deeper breaths. So opening up the side body is important. So, but anything helps, I think. People have a lot of ideas of, you know, kind of what yoga is and what it looks like. And I really try to get away from that, because it can be, I mean, just sitting still and breathing is yoga. So
We deal with the stigma of memory loss a lot in Memory Cafe, obviously, and the powerful stigma that is. And you've got a stigma of yoga, I guess, that you're trying to combat too, that really is accessible to anybody.
yeah,
It has something to offer to everybody. Carol,
yeah.
and Carol, you had a comment.
I took a yoga class years ago for, you know, older people, and I really learned so much, but I kept it up for a while, but today was just such a good reminder of it all. And the one thing I really remember was the breathing. And so every once in a while, I'd get into the breathing again when I think about that, when I was stressed. And it is the best. Thank you very much. It was good.
Oh, you're welcome.
Mhm.
Yeah, I encourage you to maybe this can be the little push to get back into,
Yeah.
you know, doing a video or doing just on your own, or yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. You are a great teacher, and thank you for singing.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks.
Brenda, tagging on to the singing, that yes, the singing was such a beautiful ending to it. And I am aware too of how emotions rise to the surface, you know, as you're doing the breathing or the movement, then you're singing of Sweet By and By brought me to tears, which happy kind of tears, but tears. So thank you for emotions.
You're welcome. I'm an advocate for letting it out and letting it come up. And music does that every time. I mean, my dad was a musician, so was my mom. It's a big part of who I am and my family, and it's incredibly powerful. I sing a lot in class. I do actually a lot more like chanting, which is a little bit different than what I just did for you, but it's still using my voice. And I do think that, you know, the practices, even though I did sort of a simplified practice today, like just the like ability to drop in and be with yourself in any given moment, like a lot of stuff can come up. And there's a lot of like that's what in essence I feel like the practice is about, is like coming home to yourself. And that's hard. That's really hard work, especially, you know, everyone has had lots of different experiences and traumas in their life, and it's hard to like be open to that and be vulnerable enough to step into that. But I think that's what the practice is. It allows us to do that, and it kind of helps the body, kind of helps facilitate that journey. So by putting your body into different positions and like literally opening up your chest, opening up your heart, like that's what it's doing. So there's a lot of times, I mean, I've had people cry in class all the time.
Sure.
That's just totally normal. Because the body stores our experiences and stores our traumas, and it's stored in the body. And so when you start to actually move it and open it up, that stuff all comes out eventually. So it's not something to like be afraid of or resist. It's like learning to embrace it and just Let yourself cry when it comes. Tears are very healing. My dad was a big crier, so I learned from the best.
Mine too. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was one of his greatest gifts that he gave us, seeing a man cry a lot.
Yep.
So anybody else have anything that they want to share or questions about any part of it? I'm kind of open to anything. And also, I just want to say it's okay if you didn't particularly like what we did. Like that's also part of the experience. You know, some people, they don't connect with it. It could be me, actually. I mean, I would definitely, if like you didn't feel connected to me, I wouldn't totally give up on it, because it might be that you connect with a different teacher or a different, you know, way of approaching it. I think the practices are, you know, or the techniques or the tools, however you want to talk about it. I think they're really important and useful for pretty much anybody, but I do think you have to do it in the way that works for you. I hope that makes sense. I don't know. I guess I just want to like hold space for those of you who were like, eh. That was you know, that didn't feel very good, maybe, because that could happen too.
Oh,
Phyllis,
can I get on?
who's it? Carol. Yes, Carol.
Yeah.
Phyllis, I think you had a comment too, maybe.
Yeah. Am I on?
Yes, you are, Carol.
Okay. It's the first time I've ever done anything with yoga. I really appreciated it. And thank you very much. Do you teach yoga?
Yeah, I do. I can't see you for some reason. I'm sorry if I'm not,
Oh.
I don't think I'm seeing everybody on the screen, because I'm not, anyway, it doesn't matter, but I do. Yeah, I have a studio. Actually, I've had a studio for about, how long? 15 years or so.
Oh.
In downtown Fargo. And
Okay.
so I've been teaching for about 18 years and practicing for more than 20. Both my husband and I have for about that long. So yeah, I've been doing it for a little while. I mean, I'm still learning though. I consider myself a student more than a teacher. So.
No, this was very informative. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Brenda, let's tell everybody about what you offer online. Their classes are only, I looked it up, only $10 per online class, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, right now I'm doing everything online. And that's what I've been since March. I know other places have gone back to in person. I'm just not comfortable with that. So I've been still online. I do a noon class, actually Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I just came from that class to this one. And Brad and Sharon do that one usually, but they kind of cut out early on Tuesdays to get to your group. But Thursday, I also do it from noon to 1. And then I'm starting a Saturday morning series, not this weekend, but next. And that's an 1.5-hour class. So it's a little bit longer, but it's all online. And we focus on, we do actually some journaling. And since it's more focused on the new year, we'll be doing like visioning and intention setting. And then we do movement and meditation. Yeah, so it's a little bit more involved, that series, but that's kind of all for now. I have other teachers, but they've all sort of had to take a break because of the situation. It's been a little bit hard transitioning to online as a business. So it's just sort of a weird thing to be doing online. You know, it's such a physical practice, but it's also a very, like I was saying earlier, like a very emotional kind of connection-based interaction. Or that's how I feel about it. So to not be able to see people in class is a little pretty different. But I'm grateful. I'm still grateful for Zoom. I didn't think I'd ever be so grateful for Zoom, but I am this last year. It's kept my business somewhat going.
Brenda, what time is a class on Saturday?
Oh, Saturday, that's a 10 a.m., 10 to 11:30 a.m. So it's like a mid-morning class. And it's all on my website, which is just ecceyoga.com.
That's spelled ECCE.
Yeah, ECCE. Yeah, it's a Latin word, actually. Yeah, all one word. And then I do have another teacher, actually, I should say too, that she does a Friday 3 p.m. class, and she's trained a lot in trauma-informed yoga, but she does a lot with adaptive yoga, which I've had some training in as well, but she's really wonderful. So that could be an option for some of you too, because she can do a lot for, you know, modifying in a chair or in a wheelchair. And so that might be something you might be interested in doing too. It's all on the website. So if you're curious, you can look there.
Is this something, Brenda, just let me know if this is too personal, but was this something
No.
that you could adapt for your dad as he lived with Lewy body dementia?
Yeah, I mean, we did a little bit of it. He did some with like the big program, or I think that's what it's called, through Sanford. He did the big, which was, I think, helpful too for him. There was a little bit of, yeah, I did what I could with him, but there was a little bit of, I don't want to say resistance, but he progressed pretty quickly the last year. And so it wasn't quite, we didn't do as much as I had hoped. I'll say that. Like after he passed, I wished I had done a lot more with him.
Well, your voice, that you saying that "Sweet By and By" to him and other songs. Wow, what a powerful presence.
Yeah,
would be really peaceful, whether you're doing yoga intentionally or not. Brenda, I'm sure you minister to him in a deep way.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, music was a huge thing, especially in the end for him. I mean, we sang him to sleep pretty much. It was really beautiful. All of my siblings are singers and musicians, and so it was quite special.
Very nice. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments or?
I saw Cheryl had her hand up, but I don't know if she was still wanting to. That's the only one I could see.
That's
Brenda.
That's you, Carol and Cheryl. Yeah.
Brenda.
Yeah. Yeah.
My name's Karen and I volunteer with Memory Cafe. But
Yeah.
you, like with your dad at the end of his life being a musician, was he able to still sing some of the songs with you and so forth?
Yeah. He actually was. Yeah, he was singing up until a couple days before he passed.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was a singer all of his life. He was had a doctorate in music, and so it was just who he was. You know, it just sort of poured out of him. So that never really ended.
Yeah.
He did have to. He was a pianist, so he did have to stop playing piano the last year and a half. He wasn't able to do that as much. It ended up being frustrating, I think, for him.
Yeah. I used to sit with your parents during Fargo South basketball games when your brother Dan was playing ball. My son Josh played ball with Dan, I think probably Dan's senior year.
Oh, wow.
And so I would see your parents, and I think you might have had one, or either my son or daughter may have been one of your classmates. I'm not sure. Their last name is Palanch. There was Kelly Palanch and Josh Palanch.
It sounds familiar, but I'm not sure if that was in my class. It could have been above or below me. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Anyway, and then Carol, who just spoke to us here on Zoom, her husband, he was the football coach for, I don't know if Dan played football, but he was my son's football coach.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
So many connections.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, he loved going to games.
Yeah.
He was as much of a sports fan as a, choral music fan. He was such a great mix of like so well-rounded in that way. Like he wasn't too uppity to go to yeah.
It's good. Nice to know that about him.
Yeah.
Deb, you're muted.
Carol Lehman. Hey, Cheryl, did you have a comment?
She already commented.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I didn't
Thank
know if
you.
you say something else or not.
Nope.
Okay. Well, Brenda, I just think this has been so fantastic and such a great use of our time and resources, and what a wonderful resource you
Thanks.
are for the community. Whether we can sign up to do some of your classes online or wait for your class to open, it's in the building. Your studio is a building next to the direct north of Pontoppidan Lutheran Church in downtown Fargo. For those of you who don't know, it used to be the Chamber of Commerce, I believe.
Yeah, originally it was built as the chamber. Yep.
Yep. And so that's where Brenda's studio is now. And I just see you as a beautiful resource for us, Brenda.
Thank you.
Certainly for your time today. We thank you. And Sharon and Brad, let's give them a round of applause too, along with Brenda, because we wouldn't have known about you without Sharon and Brad. So thank you so much to all three of you. It's been really a great way to spend time this afternoon.
Thank you, Brenda.
Yep. Thanks, Brenda.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
again. Yes. Take care.
Thank you.
Happy
everybody.
New Year.
Yes. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us.
See you Thursday. Oh, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.